Welcome to the AmeLiaRun channel. My name's AmeLia, and today I'll be reviewing the Adidas Runfalcon 5. So the Runfalcon 5 is a budget shoe aimed at being many folks, maybe their first running shoe or just a go-to budget line. The Runfalcon series has been well known for that. Like all my reviews, I will be going over the nerdy details for this shoe, as well as discussing the fit, trying to project the durability, getting into the ride, versatility, and value of this shoe. All my reviews are time-stamped for easier reference, regardless of where and when buyers are shopping. This is a shoe I purchased for myself from Adidas's eBay outlet store. They had some discount codes on there, so keep an eye out on those if you're interested in these shoes. Getting right into the nerdy details for this shoe. This is a 10.7 ounce shoe with a 33 millimeter heel stack with a 23 millimeter forefoot stack for a 10 millimeter drop. It definitely has a higher drop than it looks from a side profile for sure. It has what they call cloud foam EVA, which I can get you a little closer there. There's where it's showing that. And pretty much to decode that, cloud foam is a type of EVA midsole. So what you see in a lot of maybe budget or daily trainers that kind of are aiming more towards like cushion ride. It has an ortholite sock liner. Essentially, just knowing that means that it's there for like some little bit added orthotics. If you had to ask me, I think a lot of it's marketing on ortholite, but I don't see a huge difference. But it's nice that they're adding that to it for sure. You're not going to get Continental rubber on a budget shoe, right? So it's nice to see Adidas kind of messing around with some different tech for a budget-friendly shoe. Has a mesh upper. I'm trying to get it closer here for y'all. There it is. It's very, I say this as respectfully as I can, very plasticky, right? But it's not really meant to be, premium. So any complaints that people might have about the shoe in that regard, I'm just gonna have to counter by saying it's a $36 shoe. It comes in wide sizes. Not many shoes are available in wide sizes for like 36 to 50 bucks. I think you have to pay a little bit more for a wide size for this, but it's a pretty good bargain. But we'll get there in a little bit. Talking about fit, I changed up the lacing here as I typically do for a lot of my shoes to try to accommodate my high instep, my midfoot area. Yes. And it was relatively fine. I wouldn't run a 10K in these, but I think if you're looking at running something from like 1 to 3 miles, or maybe even up to like 4 or 5, pushing it around 5, but I think this is a completely serviceable fit for a shoe. Wore these to work for a day or two, just because I knew that I had other shoes I wanted to review. So after 1 or 2 runs in these, they were definitely a little bit more on the let me try them out at work, so I have a little bit more to say about these kind of shoe, because I unfortunately was getting up to miles where I wasn't going to be able to wear these anymore. Something that I neglected, and it's not even in my graphic right now, but I'll make sure it's in there by the time I post it. Can't really see it, but right there it says Adiwear. So I guess that is their way of saying that this has a kind of like an engineered rubber outsole. Very interesting choice. We'll get there in a little bit. I just wanted to make sure I double backed on that. Talking about projected durability, I don't think this is meant to be a durable shoe, y'all. I know that might be a shocker to hear for $36, but this Adiwear outsole is unfortunately showing signs of wear, and I've worn it for, I guess that would have been 6 miles running and maybe around 10 miles of walking. So, maybe your mileage might vary. I'm a big girl. I tear up my shoes a little bit more than most folks. Mostly towards the midfoot area, I'm noticing some wear around this little pocket. Or also, I've noticed down here in the corner, but I have issues with the lateral sides of my shoes all the time, so it could just be a me problem. I know these have had a bad rep for durability concerns, but again, your mileage might vary. For $36, it might be worth a flyer if you have knowing the expectation that this isn't going to be a particularly durable shoe. Getting into the ride, versatility, and value of this shoe. This is a interesting ride. It's definitely cushioned. I wouldn't say that it's the most cushioned, but it's far more cushioned than I anticipated it being, which I'll give it credit for its price point. You can definitely feel Adidas foam. I think the 10mm drop is very much needed in this shoe, and as somebody who likes higher drop shoes, this was something that I found comfortable enough at work. When I was standing around at my desk, a 10mm drop shoe was a heaven sent, right? However, I do think that for some, it might be a jack of all trades, master of none in regards to, some folks don't like higher drop, or if they have high drop, they expect having sky high heel and forefoot stack, right? So if it doesn't have either of those, you're probably not in luck, because this is not going to be what you're looking for in that regard. Getting into versatility, I will say that this shoe is probably firmly into an athleisure shoe that can handle shorter runs. I had a work friend who said that their daughter was running in like a fun run 5K, right? And she wanted to get her a nice pair of shoes. She was looking at like Hoka Cliftons, these really nice Hokas that said they were on sale, but they're still on sale for like $110, $120. Just get these. Don't necessarily get the Joe Schmo shoes from wherever, or just grabbing the first available shoe you see on Temu or Amazon, right? I really think that it's important to stick with running shoes for like brands that are like well renowned. If that's going to be your first shoe. We just did a review for the Rad UFO. I love the Rad UFO. Would I recommend the Rad UFO to somebody for their first shoe? Maybe not. Just because I want to get folks acclimated to brands they know, brands that have pretty good track record. Some shoes can be polarizing, so it's important to kind of make sure you have something that you can stand by when you recommend it to folks. And Adidas is definitely that. They make a lot of solid shoes. I would say their range is from good to great. I could probably count on one hand the amount of times I've been disappointed with a running shoe they've had for, be it because it was overpriced, or maybe just because it wasn't the right fit for me because it was too narrow, right? So something like this, I definitely very comfortable with recommending to folks for their first shoe, or if they're buying for like a kiddo, for maybe something for we don't do the presidential fitness test anymore. What is it? The mile run, right? Or like track and field day, right? Something that that obviously you're not going to put your kid into Puma Fast R, right? Like something like over the top, right? So this is a great, it stays under $50, great budget for the family. Value, I think that goes hand in hand, right? I think for what this shoe is, it's a good value. Are you going to need to replace it in 6 to 12 months? Yes. You're going to need to replace it in 6 to 12 months. But if you are wearing this shoe for work, that's not the worst kind of thing. I think I cycle through my work shoes every year, and some of those are really nice shoes too. If you're using this for running occasionally, maybe every 6 months, maybe every year, if you're lighter on your feet, maybe this outsole holds together a little bit better than it did for me. But I think ultimately, again, it's going to be really dependent on how often you're using these shoes, because even with, how shall we say, less durability, it's definitely still a solid shoe that I don't have a lot of doubt in having for what it is, for its value. Final thoughts for the Runfalcon 5. I really like this shoe. I like it for what it is. I don't think it tries to do any more than what it does. Does it feel cheap? Yeah. Is that the worst thing? No, not for 36 bucks. I mean, you know, I keep saying that, but it goes without saying, right? Like, you know, you spend $200 on a shoe, you're expecting it to be a super trainer. You know, you spend $150 on a shoe, you're expecting it to be solid, reliable daily trainer. $100, maybe it was something that was on sale. It used to be like in that daily trainer range, but you know, you got it at a bargain. Or hey, it's the fringe where it's like, you know, you're not going to have the most rock solid daily trainer, but you know, you're going to have something pretty reliable. This fits more towards, like, I'd say the category of like $100 shoe, and I'm fine with standing by that. I think this is a $100 shoe disguised as a cheap alternative for a lot of folks. It definitely doesn't have the sexiest colorways, as you can see here. It doesn't, you know, turn heads, but it is definitely a reliable option for the price. I hope you found this review helpful. I hope you found this review informative. If you have any questions, please let me know. I try my best to answer any comments, maybe any discussion points somebody might have. I've had some really interesting things people have talked about, like different prices of shoes in different regions, maybe some different experiences folks have had in these different kinds of shoes. I really welcome those conversations. But with that said, I hope you're all staying healthy and safe, and I'll see you all in the next review.